So my mom started watching like Cake Boss and stuff, and she really wanted to get into doing pastries. And my mom loves to. My parents are chefs, right? My dad had the catering for like forever, restaurant. My mom's worked in restaurants her life, had the restaurant with my dad. So she started like baking, and she said, "I really want to start selling cakes from home." And so she did her friend's cake, and I really didn't want anything to do with it, and it was terrible. It looked like weak. Like I'm like, you're not gonna give this to her, so I had to help her redecorate the whole cake, and I made it look beautiful. And I went like, wow, this is actually really fun. So then we did my brother's birthday cake, and then I hand painted a Detroit Red Wings logo. And like, if anyone knows the logo, it's like the motorcycle wheel with the wing feather, and that's a lot of spokes. And like I painted that whole shit by hand because at the time stencils weren't a thing. Like right now, there's so many people that do cakes from home, and like I love that like people are doing that stuff,
Run it.
but it's just like they didn't have half the shit that we use as tools now to facilitate doing that. Like I learned a lot of shit that I was doing by hand, and now it's like if you want to make this item, oh, now you could buy a mold for that. Now you could buy this tool that makes making roses easy like this. Now you just need a cutter and fold it this way. Like so, it's like anybody could do it, but like that shit didn't exist when I was doing it. Like I was.
So like real talk though, you like figure out the actual skills like the cake bosses and the TV people had to do to be cool. So
Yeah.
you got like the foundation, let's say, and you got the practice into it. Do you find that in like the current climate of cakes, it makes a difference?
Oh, that's a very good question. I mean, like, yeah, because I think that there's just things that we had to do the harder way. So if the easy way fails, we have other ways of doing it, which is like the old school way, like.
So you're saying that like a lot of people can get fucked if they're not like able to just like
Well,
the
because
by
like
numbers version
a lot
doesn't
of
work.
times I'll even tell my friends this. I say, oh, I could go buy this mold to do this, and they're like, oh, you can't do it. I'm just like, yeah, I can do it by hand, but it just takes a really long time. But now there's a way to do it if I go buy the. But I'm like, if I'm too lazy to go buy the mold, or I'm just gonna be like, okay, yeah, just take the time and do it by hand because you know how to do it.
So how
So
do
it's
you?
like.
Okay, I watch people do the cake shit, but like it's not really that interesting to me to watch people make cakes. I know a lot of people love that. I never fully understood it. Like Bonnie be all over it. If you put cakes and competition in the same fucking word, chain watching it.
This is
all
so
over
funny
it.
because my friend was actually watching Sugar Rush on
I've seen all of them
like
live.
repeat the other day,
I'm
and we were literally watching these, and I'm watching the stuff, and I'm like, it gives you so much anxiety because I'm like, I don't know if I would do that. I don't know if I'd put myself through that because I'm like, they set you up to fail, and like to me, it's like. It's so hard to do those things in 4 hours when it takes, like I said, 3 days to make a cake. Like you're doing that in 4 hours, 5 hours on TV. Like of course you're gonna fail.
Yeah, that shit looks wild, but it also doesn't help me understand how to make cakes that look fancy. I know it sounds weird, but you watch them do everything so bullet speed, and they're like it's not really about how to do it nice. It's more about the drama of watching the cake fall
Yeah,
apart at the
exactly,
end.
exactly. Something they set
And
you up to fail. So I'm like, I don't know if I would do that.
I like the weed show though, the one with the weed edibles, which is just goofy. I
Mm-hmm.
kind of enjoy watching that
Yeah,
one. I'd not go on it, but I'd be like a judge on that one. But like otherwise,
that'd be fun.
would you do you cook with weed? Bonnie asked that before, and I forgot to ask you.
I've done it a couple times, but it's not something I'm like well versed in. But it's only because I've not made the effort to be.
So you're like, I could cook with weed.
I
Choose
just,
not to.
yeah.
There's enough of that on the market right now.
Well, essentially, like one of my like wild dreams when I opened the bakery was that I was gonna eventually kind of branch. My brother was working with my dad at the catering at the time because he had just graduated as a chef from Pius.
So like your whole family just cooks.
Yeah, and so my dream was to eventually maybe open a kind of like Stephanie's Bakery edibles side that I'd co-own with my brother because my brother's also like very into smoking weed. And I'm like, that'd be really cool to have him because he's a chef, kind of like be on like I could teach him how to bake, but he's like the weed guy, so he could make sure that he I would trust
So
him
like
to
he
like
knows
cook.
he knows how to deal with the weed cooking.
No, but I'm saying I know he would have learned, like what I mean, like at the time, but like obviously once the weed got legal and then they said edibles were like going to be illegal here, you could still buy it online, but like anyways.
I mean, I'm not gonna say that like I want to promote this, but you can just do a whole edibles business pretty easy, and it's not necessarily in the selling of commodities. I think the loopholes in experienced chefing. So if you were to do like a private event and all the food has edibles and shit, I think there's a loophole in that, because I see that shit all
it's a private
the
event.
fucking time.
I know what you mean.
So it's not
I know what
necessarily
you mean.
like you can come through and just sell weed, but
Yeah.
you can sell tickets to an event that maybe has edibles being shared and donated and given
Right.
and all the legal terms to work around it. There is a pipeline that allows for that. That's really nifty though, that you like just from time got into like designing cakes. And is it just like painting sugars and shit? Like I don't really understand the process of like actually decorating a cake
So
to
it's like-
that level of customization.
So fondant was the thing that became like really popular with Cake Boss, right? And like every time I would watch Cake Boss, because it was such a new concept on TV at the time, he was really explaining all the little tricks of the trade on TV. So it's like to anybody watching, they're like, "Oh, that's so cool," right? It's like seeing how things are made. But I'm watching this like, "Oh, that's how they do it. Oh, okay, I could do that." Like, "Oh, I could do that. Oh, I could do that." And that's like I kind of learned through that, and then like YouTube, and like seeing how people do these certain techniques or what products they use to, because finding the products is what's key. And I wanted to eventually expand the bakery and have like a cake retail section, because I'm like, once you find good products, you want people to be able to like buy those products from you also, to if they want to make cakes at home.
I don't know if y'all noticed it, but literally every idea she's had has an upsell idea attached to it. Like
That's
off
just how
the
my
jump.
brain works.
That's some knowledge nugget shit. Like it's dreaming bigger. That's amazing.